Chicken Boy, Chapter 13. Miss Thespin gave me a C+ on my autobiography, one grave drop due to lateness. Then she sent a note home to my dad. It came through the mail the day before Halloween and was sitting there on the kitchen table when Daddy got back from work. He dumped out a bag of McDonald's on a plate and took Miss Thespin's note and his plate over to the couch. First, he got himself all balanced. Then he opened up the envelope. "This teacher of yours wants me to come to the open house over at the middle school," Daddy said when he was done reading. "Says you're making impressive gains in her class. That's her words, not mine." He sat back, took a bite of a quarter-pounder. "You think I ought to go to this thing?" I tried to imagine my dad sitting in a desk in Miss Thespin's classroom. I could see his legs sprawling out into the aisle and his back and shoulders all hunched up so that his upper half fit in the seat. Made me nervous just thinking about it. "You want to go?" I asked. "Not really," Daddy said, and I was all over relieved. But after he chewed a bite of his hamburger, he said, "On the other hand, it ain't every day someone sends me a note about one of my children that says they're making impressive gains. Fact is, this is the first time a teacher's bothered to comment on one of my children, at least to say something good. I guess I ought to go and give my compliments to the chef or whatever it is you're supposed to do." The night of the open house, Daddy took a shower as soon as he got home from work. When he walked out of his bedroom, a cloud of piney-smelling aftershave trailed behind him. He was struggling with a red and green striped tie that made him look like Christmas on a stick. "I used to know how to tie one of these things," he complained, "but I got out of practice." Shane pushed himself up on the couch and said, "I'll get it," and Patrick got to laughing so hard Shane turned red from it. "Becca taught me how from when we go to church," he said, and Patrick laughed even harder. Summer walked in the front door from work and set out straight away to fix up Daddy's hair, grabbing a big pink comb out of her purse and fussing over Daddy's head, changing the part, trying to squash down his colic until he snarled, "Quit it already! I'm pretty enough as it is." Before he left, Daddy leaned this way and that to catch his reflection in the living room's front window. "You look handsome, Daddy," Summer remarked. "You ought to dress up more. Get you a suit and tie job." Daddy waved her comments away. "I feel like I'm about to choke to death." "That's why I hardly ever go to church," Shane agreed. "Halfway through, I'm like to pass out from the tie." Me, Shane, Summer, and Patrick were all sitting on the couch like we were waiting for Santa Claus to show up. The TV was on, but we were watching Daddy instead. "Don't believe everything they tell you," Patrick called after him as he was going out the door. "Only the bad stuff." Shane leaned over and socked him hard on the shoulder. "Don't ruin it," he said, and I knew exactly what he meant. I couldn't think of the last time everybody in my family was sitting in the same spot doing something other than watching TV, something that everybody was a part of. 2 hours later, I was pacing back and forth in front of the TV like I was waiting for a baby to be born. I guess Daddy'd be back in no time flat, 45 minutes at the most, figuring in driving time. When the front door finally opened around 10 p.m., I nearly fell down on the couch. I felt like I'd been holding my breath the whole time he'd been gone. "Man, oh man, I hadn't been in a school in a million years," Daddy said, pulling off the red and green Christmas tie and unbuttoning the 3 top buttons of his shirt. "But the funny thing is, even though that school of yours is as new as morning, it smells exactly like every school I ever went to. Chalk and gym shoes, I guess. Teacher's bad breath." Oops. He sat down on the couch, switched on the sports news. "That English teacher of yours likes you. Says you're improving all the time, paying more attention. She thinks you can do even better. Your PE coach don't think much of you, though." "You saw all my teachers?" "Yeah, I saw all your teachers. You think I was just going to see the ones that think you're okay? That'd narrow it down to 2. "Who else likes me beside Miss Thespin?" "That science teacher you got, Mr. Longbody." "Peabody." "Yeah, that's right. He's so tall is what threw me off his name. He says when you do your work, you do good." Daddy stretched out his legs, kicked off his shoes. "You know, I did good at school." "You did?" Don't act so surprised. Yeah, I did good. Math and science, that was my thing. Couldn't write a sentence to save my life and didn't care to read a book. But numbers and anything that had to do with nature, I liked. I always felt bad that Shane and Summer didn't like school better. I should have made them graduate instead of doing GEDs. But your mama was so sick, I couldn't keep on top of everything. He looked at me. You think about her much? It was the first time I could remember him asking me about my mom. I thought for a minute and shrugged. Sometimes I do. I don't remember everything about her. A lot of little things, like the way she smelled and how she always said howdy instead of hi. I remember a few stories about stuff she did, like with that fishing dog. I remember that dog, Daddy said, grinning. He yapped so much I wanted to give him back, but Sandy loved it too much by then. And that was it. End of conversation. But when I got up to my room, Daddy patted the couch. When I got up to go to my room, Daddy patted the couch beside him. Don't run off, he said. Have a seat and let's see if I can learn you anything about car racing. About time you studied up on the important stuff. I sat down next to him. All of a sudden, I wanted to tell him all sorts of things, like about Henry and the chickens, about Miss Thesman and writing my autobiography, all those old stories I'd pulled out of my head. But it had been so long since I had any real sort of talk with my dad, I'd forgotten how to go about it. So I kept my mouth shut. But when he started talking about car racing, pointing out this fact and that one, I listened. I listened as hard as I could. That's the end of chapter 13.